So, hi everyone, and welcome to Building a Better Future Stories from Climate Tech Founders. For the next 8 weeks, we're going to be chatting to founders from early stage startups and understanding where their love for sustainability began, what led them to take action and set up on their own, and what challenges they've faced in those first few years as a founder. I hope that these stories are going to be relatable to other founders who are on a similar journey, motivational to anyone considering founding their own startup, and informative to anyone who wants to make the transition into climate tech and wants to hear about the cool things that people are doing. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cherry Swain. I'm founder of Above and Beyond Recruitment. We partner with climate tech startups and we help them to recruit the best talent to grow and scale out their product and engineering teams. And today I'm joined by Mark Corbett, who back in 2019 founded a company called Thrust Carbon with his co-founder Kit Brennan. And incidentally, it's actually the company's 3rd birthday today. So I'm absolutely honoured he's choosing to spend it with us. They are on a mission to make travel effortlessly green. Their software platform allows companies to understand, reduce and offset their travel emissions. And their insights have been shared in publications like the New York Times, The Telegraph, Reuters, and very recently on BBC News. Alongside running and growing Thrust Carbon, Mark also does a lot of mentoring, coaching and training for young people and for aspiring founders. So I'm very grateful that he's giving us an hour of his time, especially on the business birthday, and I'm sure he's going to have a really interesting journey to share with us. So Mark, welcome.
Thank you so much, and for such a wonderful intro. So thank you, Cherry.
No, my pleasure, my pleasure. So to kick off, I'd like to start from the beginning, if you're happy to do that. Can you take me back to those early years of your life, upbringing, education, and sort of where that passion for sustainability and entrepreneurship came from, if you can identify a source for it?
Yeah, so I think I'd say that the passion for entrepreneurship came before sustainability.
Right.
I think, and that's by virtue because I didn't think of myself as someone who was able to tackle the climate crisis or indeed any other big picture challenge we have in the globe today. I was a young kid with no idea what I was going to do in my life. I studied philosophy at King's College London because I knew I loved philosophy. So that was a really simple decision. And I had at least enough good people around me who said, do something you love rather than try and do a degree that you think will build a career, right? And so not only did I have a great time at university, and it was easy, right? Because I loved the degree, so the challenges were fun ones to take on. But as anyone who's done a humanities degree knows, you have space in your diary, which a lot of people use for either reading and learning or drinking and debauchery. I won't say which one I leaned more into, but I also then found myself in the entrepreneurship world by virtue of I loved the friends I was making. I loved the university, and then I was like, oh my god, I need to do something practical. And I don't know what that is. And by saying yes to stuff, I ended up in the social enterprise world in London in the mid noughties, and found myself being immersed in like these what I didn't know were brand new concepts in terms of things like lean startup, business model generation, and Canvas. And I was like, oh, this whole business thing is really cool. And then I started doing all these little projects that led to more impact, and suddenly you start seeing what you can actually achieve, and then you start seeing how you scale rather than going from, hey, I can't solve the climate crisis, which obviously no individual is going to do. It's kind of quite a monumental shift from a lot of people. But then to seeing your role in that, right? So that was really the origin, and then sustainability came actually by working with young kids to begin with, and just trying to kind of help kids who didn't necessarily have the same background that I did. And I was so nervous and had no idea if I would actually be able to do anything that would actually help people who come from backgrounds where they're exposed to gang violence, right? Which thank God I was not exposed to as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 15-year-old. And yeah, it all kind of scaled from there.
Amazing. So actually those kind of initial sparks of entrepreneurship and going out and doing something for yourself came more from the people you associated with and the friends you made and the environment you were in at university, more so than it did from family or anything like that, you think?
Massively so. And again, incredibly grateful to friends who encouraged me Also the friends who said I couldn't do stuff, like almost as good as the ones who actively encouraged me, right? I'm sure everyone listening has had moments where someone goes, no, Sherry, you couldn't possibly do that, or like, or like, oh, that sounds cool, but this type of person does that, not you, or whatever it might be. And sometimes like I hearing that stuff, it gives me a kick up the arse that is like, well, why can't I do that, right? Like what makes you think I can't achieve that or build that or create that or deliver that? So yeah, I responded positively to some of those challenges as much as I did the support from friends as well.
Amazing. And then how did the idea for Thrust Carbon come about, and how did the passion for kind of social impact and social enterprise kind of spin into sustainability and climate?
Yeah, so I guess when you're in the social enterprise world, you're really exposed to like fundamental cracks in society on all levels. And then also for me, I ran a social enterprise at university that started off like, really piddly with not much going on to actually, we ended up turning over like £50,000 on an annual basis, whilst we were a group of students all really just cobbling together and trying to make a impact in the community. And again, we learned how to fail fast, right? We at one point, we had 200 students all working together. We launched 40 projects, of which maybe 6 were successful. And then that turned out to be a massive success. So again, like age 20, I was like, oh, okay, sure. So who knew that the first thing you tried to do isn't going to be a big success, and you actually need to embrace failing fast, right? And I think, people talk about failing fast all the time, but do people actually practice it? Do people actually express that vulnerability? Like, to be on a podcast like this, right? And then say, hey, this is what I did. These are the 3 things I got totally wrong. I ran out of money, or I didn't know anything about sales, so then I learned how to do sales, or I didn't know how to code anything, so I did no code, or I taught myself to, et cetera, right? So yeah, I'm quite exposed to that, and then I was in the education world for a long time, and that was a big passion to me. Big problem in education though, like odds are all products you're making are necessity products, and everyone wants them and everyone wants to pay for them, but everyone wants them, but do they want to pay for them? Right. And that's a real obstacle in education that you tend not to have in other industries, right? Like if you don't have a design tool to make something, like you're going to go out and find a design tool, and you're already in a buying mindset that is, I either want a free version of it to give it a go, or I need a tool that's going to help me create something that's better than anything else I've ever created, right? So challenge there. So I was in the education world and then fell into travel because I had this huge network of young people who were all trying to build their careers. I worked with a really good friend of mine who I met in the co-working space. We were friends because we loved coffee. We spoke about investors in London, the pros and cons of everything in the startup world. And then he started running some events and was like, hey, Mark, you've got a wicked student audience. Can you bring some people in? So yeah, absolutely. And so we started running Amsterdam, which was this just awesome. It was basically the largest student tech festival in Europe. We were sponsored by Tesla, Nike, startups up and down Europe, and we had like 46 or 7% of our attendees were young women as well. So like it was really helping people to break into tech whilst they're in their early stage of their career. Sadly, COVID did make that one a slight challenge to scale afterwards. I'll circle back to that one when I've got more time and space. But yeah, suddenly I was in the travel world, and then I say yes to things as much as I can. Kit invited me to come to a hackathon. Anyone who's listening who doesn't know what a hackathon is, it's really just like a couple of days immersive work, problem solving, and then have a solution at the end of it. He invited me and I went, hell no, do you know how busy we are? And like, I don't want to spend a weekend working on something that isn't moving the needle forwards in terms of actually what our projects are. But it was in Madrid, and he's not a sales guy. He gave me a really good sales pitch, and I was like, okay, I really appreciate this. What's the worst that can happen? We spend a couple $100 on flight, hotel. Maybe we work really hard and we don't win anything, but it'll be a good experience, and we'll have fun, right? We ended up winning with a fun little tool, and we were like, oh, we could maybe build this or scale it. It's hella boring, but maybe we could do it. And the organizers actually went, oh my God, we've enjoyed having you here so much. Why don't you come to our next one? Our next one's on climate change. So, okay. Oh, that's much more interesting. And then we, of course, were like, oh, we're not going to win 2 in a row. We did end up winning 2 in a row. And then that was the foundation of the business, right? But then again, like, it's the foundation of the business. Literally what we built there in a 2-day event is responsible for between like 1% and 3% of all of our revenue.
Wow.
But it was building that tool that helped us then understand all the big picture problems in the industry. So we were looking at offsetting and people flying, like, why don't people do it? Well, actually, like, there's shitty data. There's poor data. You can beat that out, right? Poor data, it's then not interconnected. There's no trust, transparency. How do you get the right data in the right place? How do you actually influence people to make better decisions while traveling? And then you dive further into it, right? There are so many industries that are decarbonizing. Travel is going the other direction, right? So when we think about the world in which we live and trying to hit climate goals, we have an entire industry that is fundamentally going the wrong way. And then you start thinking about it, was like, well, the panic button is, right, we stop travel. Is the world a better place if we stop travel?
No.
Hell no. Right? You think about opening minds, reducing, problems in diversity, problems in cohesion in society, stereotyping people, not appreciating the world in which we live, the people with which we've grown up with, and all these things. Travel is so good for that, and it's so good for growing your revenue. Right? Like, if you are running a business, sometimes you need to get in a room with people and hash out a deal, or whatever it might be, right? So how do we fundamentally reverse this wrong trend in an industry? And I'm a big eat your frogs guy, right? Like, so do the hardest thing first. And so when I look at decarbonizing different industries, travel is right up there and arguably the hardest one. Yeah. So yeah, felt like a perfect place to start. And then, I'm not the guy who's going to build a carbon capture solution. I'm not going to rescue the planet with a mad invention. That's just not the skill set that I have. But data, technology, yeah, okay, now we're talking. And then how do we scale this? Like, how do we build a solution that actually drives and delivers behavioral change? How do we apply nudge theory? This is the kind of stuff that gets me excited every single day, right? Yeah. And then so suddenly now we've got problems, we've got potential solutions, and we've got massive desire and appetite to bring those things together and deliver them. And arguably that entirely happened by accident. But also, one of the reasons why we won the hackathon, borderline cheats here, right? I've run like 30 hackathons, so it's like I'm coming into these with a really unfair advantage against other people.
You hustled them.
And I almost felt bad about it. Not really, but almost. Because again, it's that luck, but like, because of all the hard work that went into it that other people don't ever see, right? And then we kept building products and people would go, oh my God, how on earth did you build that in 48 hours? And I'm like, well, I did like this much, and my business partner's insane and did like all of this. Like, you couldn't have built that in this time. It's like, yeah, we really did, because like, we're so used to just turning things out, right? And doing that first iteration, and then even doing a second iteration during the event, and then knowing what success looks like, right? It's not just all in functionality, it's actually showing the benefits, right? It's the design, how does it look? It's a fun brand, right? Yeah. To anyone listening to this who's wondering how you do your early pitches and win clients, for the love of God, don't do a live demo. Like, the product is early, you're figuring things out, stuff breaks all the time. Sometimes you might just have a slightly dodgy Wi-Fi connection, right? There's a million and one things that go wrong with live demos. Stick it in a presentation, or show me a video and show me the live demo when I'm already in a buying mindset. And I just want to know it's there and it works. And that's the final straw between me then, purchasing your product or whatever it might be.
And how did you know Kit? So Kit phoned up and invited you to this hackathon in Madrid in the first place. Where did you guys meet, and how did that relationship develop?
Yeah, so that was in an accelerator slash kind of co-working space, funny enough, attached to our old university. So shout out to the King's 20 Accelerator. If you're a King's College London, alum or student, it's a really cool program. It's not like a lot of other programs. So you get people who are still in university or just finishing kind of on it. So you get a lot of really fresh entrepreneurs who are, often doing their first business. But then you'll also have people at this time point, like myself or kids. We were 7, 8 years out of university. We'd already built some things with some success, some failures. He was in the early founding team, Go Cardless as well. He'd been through Techstars with another business. I've been through other accelerators as well, and it's like that mishmash of people, is really awesome, right? And again, I love mentoring because it sharpens your mind as well. Like selfishly, it will help you be so much better as an entrepreneur if you are sitting down with other people and one, fundamentally open and vulnerable. This is what I got wrong. I wish I'd looked at this differently, et cetera, et cetera. And it actually reminds you when you go, oh yeah, I'm talking about the business model canvas, but like, have I done one myself here? Right? A lot of people forget the basics, right? Like, when was the last time you actually read Lean Startup? Like, when was the last time you actually nailed down the core principles? When was the last time you refreshed your mindset on Agile? When was the last time you actually looked at your product and reminded yourself of the amazing quote that, everyone in the space knows that, if you're not embarrassed with your first version of your product, then you've launched too late, right? But like, are you actually doing that? Are you actually embodying it? Because it's, it's terrifying. It feels awful when you show people and you're just there like, it's going to be so much better than this. But it will be, and in such a short period of time. But if you don't show that first version, then that launch is always moving further away.
Yeah. So you and Kit had both gained some really valuable experiences from different areas, had a friendship anyway that was very rooted in kind of startup business growth, ideas, innovation.
Yeah.
Accidentally won both of the hackathons, came up with the of MVP.
Intentionally won, accidentally perhaps were there, but yeah.
And then at what point did you sit down and go, right, let's actually turn this into something? And what did that look like in those first few months in terms of getting it off the ground, funding it, the practicalities?
So funny enough, it was sometimes decision making is so easy, right? And I'm a big fan of if you're struggling with decisions, it's usually because you don't have good information or enough information around you, or enough understanding of what the outcome should be, right? So everything gets murkier and murkier, and the decision gets harder and harder and harder. Having gone through a hackathon where we won and we had a cool product, and we literally went, we could build this. Like we could probably make a little bit of revenue off it and probably not do much. So like just sits in the background and ideally ticks over a little bit of a second income stream, something like that. And it was like, do we want to build that? Maybe. We'll see. Right, like not excited, but a could do option. And fun fact, by the way, I have a folder in my drive that is just zombie projects. It's every project that I've thought about launching that I haven't launched or tried to launch, failed, etc. And they all sit there for reference. So anytime, and I really encourage other people to do this. So anytime you suddenly have more capital, or you have a different network that has different skills or whatever it might be, go back to your zombie projects and go, well, that project that was really hard then is not hard now. Or that project that was too early for the market, we're getting close. And anyway, that went in the zombie projects. And then we went to this other hackathon. And as we were getting closer to finishing, like eyes on the prize, focused on winning. Again, this might sound really obvious, but a piece of feedback I give a lot of entrepreneurs that regularly I get told about afterwards about how important it is. It's like when I turn up to competitions, like, whatever, you win some, you lose some, right? You've got to do more and increase your failure rate to increase your winning rate. But when I'm there, all I'm thinking about is winning, right? Nothing crosses my mind other than we're going to win from the start to the very finish. And it is a laser-like focus. But you see the difference, right? Because again, there'll be so many people who are listening who will go, oh my God, yeah, that pitch I did yesterday, like I was good, but I was stressed about investment, or I was thinking about some family stuff, or I had other things on my mind, or like, it was lastminute.com doing the pitch because I was pitching for something else. It was completely different. And it's like, yeah, we all fall into that trap. So how do you double down and get that laser-like focus that means in that hour or 2 days, nothing else enters your mindset. Unrelenting focus and drive to get it over the line. So again, but hopefully that's helpful for people listening.
And how do you, because naturally what will stop a lot of people doing that is that self-doubt creeping in, that but I couldn't do that. So how do you put that to one side to give yourself that laser-like focus?
It is hard. There's so many good tips for this, like success diaries that remind you of things, gratitude diaries, similar but slightly different. Sometimes it's like stripping away noise. For me, like I love big headphones and music that helps me focus, and then I like try and tunnel vision my task. And again at events, one thing I do that's maybe a good thing and a bad thing is like I'm good at ignoring emails and just turning them off. So that doesn't distract me. It does also get me in trouble because some people are like, hey, why didn't you respond to my emails? I'm like, well, why didn't you call me? If it's important, call me. But yeah, like I have 1,000,001 priorities, and sometimes you emailing me to ask a small question or even a really important question, and then sometimes that does get missed. So it's pros and cons. But yeah, the self-doubt is a real kicker, and it is always there. Like it's not always there. Like it's always a threat to be there, and a lot of the time it's just like it's acknowledging it and going, cool, like yeah, I might totally still fail this, right? Like success rates in your third year look significantly better than in your second year and significantly better in your first year. But fundamentally, why do businesses fail? One, people. So I'm one of those, right? And then if other people in the business are dragging us down, then again, whose responsibility is that? Well, realistically, mine. So by focusing on the good, it only helps, right? And it gets easier, right? Like we have an awesome team, right? We put so much time into recruiting, supporting team. That's acknowledging sometimes you get people who don't fit the culture and vice versa, and they don't last, right? And nor would they want to, right? Like it's a two-way street. This is a very long way of answering your question.
That's good, really good. And I love that about, how you kind of hear that voice, acknowledge that voice of self-doubt, but put it out of the picture and compartmentalize, make yourself indistractable. I love that. And in those sort
when you get busy as well, it can actually help because you're just like, I don't have time for you. Like I just don't have time for you. Like you can be wherever you want to be. There's no time. The hardest time is definitely if you're going, hey, I want to build a business, but I don't have an idea. I'm not sure what I want to do, or I don't know how to find a co-founder. Like that's where it's definitely at its strongest. And again, that's where I just get out there. Like just go, sit in a co-working space, go chat with people over the kitchen, in the bar, share problems. Don't hide anything. Like I don't like when entrepreneurs are like, oh, I'm in stealth mode, or I don't talk about my business. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. See you later. Like I've got nothing to add or contribute. If that's what you're saying. So you'll get no value from me, right? Tell people, hey, I'm going to go build a climate business. I'm looking at data. I'm looking at offsets. I'm looking at sustainable aviation fuel, or I'm in education, or I'm in finance or design, whatever. And again, like I'm not in finance, but if you say, hey, Mark, can I I'm building this, and I get excited about it. I'm like, oh, I really like that. Can I introduce you to some people? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so true. If you're open, other people will be open back, and then that's how you get that interesting input, I suppose, into the business. And in those first kind of few months, then from you guys, you said it was an easy decision to know that this is what you wanted to do and this is what you wanted to build. What did those first few, dirty in the trenches, roll your sleeves up months look like from day zero to getting it off the ground?
Yeah, I guess so to clarify, one of the reasons why it was so easy, right, was because we decided not to do it at that other event, and this felt so different. And it felt like we were scratching the surface. It felt like everything could get deeper and better and stronger. And every time we posed a question, it's that hypothesis of the lean startup. You go, I imagine if this is the case, this is the case. And we kept asking those, and the answers were like, nope, doesn't exist. Or like, people can't do this. It doesn't work. Broken. And you're like, oh, okay, so none of this exists. Okay, if we can do this, can we do, okay. And consistent user testing, right? So, we're then in a strange position because we're now also doing all of our other businesses and work. We're super excited by this idea. Again, we're on the plane and we're going, we're going to do this, aren't we? Like, we're 100% going to do this. And then it was like, but it's not just offsetting, right? We're going to go much deeper. And it was like, yeah. We need to figure out how deep we can go. And then it's like, how do you build that structure behind that research, figuring things out, getting on the phone? You can't just sit in a room and do this. I remember we met a strategic investor in the space, and we pitched to them literally the earliest version of what we had without building anything. And we could feel where they were reticent to move forwards, and then we could feel all the bits where they were really exciting, and there was so much value in that. Giving us money at that point would have been bloody pointless. I don't know what I would have spent it on. So again, like, you got to get learnings from absolutely everything, and not necessarily view everything as that like arbitrary like success fail. It's, you're always succeeding and always kind of failing as you go forward, right?
So even in those pitches where you don't get the money, you learn from how somebody responds to your idea, your service, your product, about how you need to improve it and change it. And
exactly. And then, market conditions, ignore them. We were essentially winning our first client as COVID kicked in. Our client literally went bankrupt as we were about to sign everything, closed the doors, and it's now, March the 12th or whatever it is. Essentially less than 6 months after we were at the hackathon, and it was like, okay, we're in travel. We're like, okay, no one can travel anywhere. We don't know how awful COVID is going to be. There are quotes like 70% of travel management companies will go under, business travel will never, ever return. The world will look completely different. And it's really easy to then panic, right? Yeah. We didn't panic. We focused on building. We did the basics. Me and my business partner spoke every single morning. We did a stand up at 9 a.m. every single day to make sure we were both, it's up and, not lounging around in our, pants, right? Like you got, right? Because otherwise, like, if nothing's happening in the world, that stuff can then affect you to like, well, what can I do? Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, the world is in an unprecedented place. So then it's like you set those almost artificial goals, right? Let's get V1 of the product done. Let's do V1 of the brand, the decks. Who can we go speak to? And you don't know the answers to those questions until you figure them out. It didn't occur to us that every single enterprise with a global travel program, by and large, who have more financial resilience than a lot of other programs, all their staff had great travel programs and had time on their hands in a way they never did before. So we did user research like you couldn't imagine. And we got in front of clients that we never thought we would get in front of. And lo and behold, as a startup with zero budget, suddenly we didn't have to fly anywhere and nail any pitches. We did everything online. We pushed boundaries absolutely everywhere. We created amazing Miro presentations. If you don't know Miro, it's a wicked whiteboarding tool. I think it's absolutely unparalleled in terms of its ability to convey visual messages and complement the pitch. PowerPoints are just boring. Like, Excel spreadsheets are necessary, but boring, right? Like, listening to me for an hour and a half in a pitch, boring. So how do you as a founder then go win those early sales?
Yeah. That is amazing. And I think there arguably could not be a greater challenge to a travel business in its first few months than COVID. And the ultimate challenge that you've got no control over. And inspiring that you took that and you somehow managed to turn that into an advantage by moving your meetings online, by, setting yourself small goals to make sure your business was really fit for growth when things did come back, and by using it for user research and to get in front of people you never would have got in front of. So yeah, that's an absolute lesson in resilience. Amazing. And where are you at today? So from those kind of early kind of challenges and bumps in the road, talk me through the picture of Thrust Carbon today, headcount, clients, where you at?
Yeah, we're at 14 people. We have clients that range from the likes of Novartis through to S&P Global, Toyota. Essentially, we have a global client base of some of the most respected enterprise brands in the world, all of whom we're helping drive their net zero strategy through data. Right. Yeah, it's all about how do we measure the impact of your program? How do we reduce that? How do we drive travel behavior? We've got nudge tools, again, very laser focused on our core product, which is our Thrust Calculator. But then again, always building on top of that, as any good SaaS business should be doing. And, we struggle between focus on one and expanding the others. We also have kind of data via API, so point of search emissions. So that's now powering $52 billion worth of travel spend annually, which is awesome. And, we are absolutely growing at a rapid speed. So yeah, always looking for new people to recruit, which is awesome. We literally don't have a marketing department, right? So it will be me that will put out some nice social about this at some point. Yeah, I'm excited to get ahead of people. That for me is going to be a game changer. Like someone whose entire focus is ensuring our whole team are, feel valued, that every day they turn up, they're pumped, they're ready to take on the climate crisis and build amazing tech or help support our clients or do the marketing behind it, whatever it might be, to get us to net zero as fast as possible, because that's literally all we spend our time thinking about.
Yeah. And what is the biggest, so in those early days, COVID being a big challenge, but today, what's the biggest challenge? Is it that piece about growth and scaling and people and culture, or is there something else that's keeping you awake at night?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say we're at that stage where, both my partner and I are good executors, right? Like we like that side of things. And also I should say we are really fundamentally diametrically opposed as well, both personality types, skill sets, and that is great. Like we have conflict, but in such a healthy way, right? And it's always resolved into outcomes and why we're doing it and what that means to the business. And again, like drill home with massive amounts of positivity, right? Like, so it's that ability to disagree and then they go, in this case, like, Cherry, we're going to go with you because like I fundamentally, like, whilst I want to do what I want to do, I get your logic and I think you've got better insights on this, so we're going to go your approach, and if you're wrong, then we'll double down on my one later down the line, and that's fine. That's just part and parcel of it. There's no egos, right? Yeah, I think you get a lot more egos in your early 20s. In your 30s, there's a lot more like, I haven't got time for that. Like I'm just here to make this work, right? And again, like there's so many data points and trends in terms of older founders being, or there being a higher proportion of success in older founders. I certainly feel very different in terms of my skills and attitudes to when I was in my 20s. I've upped both my impatience and my patience, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I lean into each one more rather than perhaps being too quick to move to one or the other in the wrong environment.
And harness the benefits of both, right? There's a real benefit to impatience if channeled in the right way. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of that challenge, it is taking things off mine and Kit's plate and ensuring the team can then lead it forwards. And it's almost easier when they're new projects the team own and lead. It's different when you're like halfway through something and it's like, I need someone else to take this on, or I need to move over here. But then you're like, I still need to see this and touch this and so forth. But again, like you hire great people and it makes it so much easier. And having just done our all hands, we spent a long time talking about trust versus performance, how much more we value trust, what that actually looks like, how do you practice that, how do you develop that, nurture that, and that was really awesome. We really enjoyed that.
And that's a really interesting transition phase for a business, isn't it? As a business, quote unquote, grows up, when it goes from it being you and Kit driving it, making all the decisions, it's your baby, to turn this into a proper business. Actually, we need to delegate. We need to pass ownership and autonomy down to scale it and turn it into something. But that's difficult to let that control go, I imagine.
It is, and to a degree almost sad in one level, because like there are some things that I just enjoy doing and getting done, but then it's so exciting on the other side, because then like, a couple of weeks go past and someone says, hey, this has happened and this has happened and this has happened. I'm like, I had no idea we were working on that. That's awesome. Great work. What's the next step? What do you need me for? Nothing. Great. And I think that's, again, a good challenge. Like, we've had some people in the team join from really established corporate entities, and it's, consistently reminding them, it's like, you are never going to step on anybody's toes doing work or taking things off their plate. You're only going to make them happier taking things off people's plate. And that is a fundamental difference to if you're in a more political environment where it's like, I need to be seen to deliver this. I need to get this done, or whatever it might be. Let's not say all companies are like that or all corporates are like that, but some certainly can be. And with that, sorry, I'm conscious of time. I'm going to have to run away into the pitch in a little bit. Yes.
No, of course. I've just got 3 quick fire questions, if that's okay.
Oh, yes, please.
As quickly as possible. So what would your top piece of advice be for somebody that's thinking about setting up their own business?
Yeah, get out, just get out and about, like whatever it is, go meet people, go pick up the phone, immerse yourself in that industry, in that niche, like go to trade shows or go to where people hang out, go to any event you can, online, offline. Yeah, and building those early interpersonal relationships are so important. So you've got to meet people, you've got to figure stuff out.
Amazing. And which business or sustainability role model do you wish you could have just 1 hour in a room with?
Ooh.
Question, sorry.
Oh my God. I don't know. This feels like almost like a lazy answer, but for me, it would be Gates. What like first off, I've been a fan of the Gates Foundation for a very, very long time. Their former client, I love everything that they do, their power, their scale, their ability to take a problem and then go, okay, we are going to, like, once we see solutions, we're going to throw money into it and we're going to pump it in and we're going to inject it and fuel it until we can fix that. And again, like when I think of them, I think of, actually eradicating things like TB, malaria, that final polio. These things are making a resurgence because other people don't want to make that massive investment that the final 1 or 5 to 1% requires. And they don't get nearly enough credit. And obviously, he's as close to a genius, I think, as they come. And who knows? Maybe we'd ask him to invest.
There you go. Perfect. Great answer.
At least on the board.
And what is one quick lifestyle change that you could recommend to listeners to help them live more sustainably?
Oh, yeah, really good one. So I'll keep it travel focused because that's essentially what we do. First and foremost, offsetting is like a necessary half measure. Like it's not going to get us to net zero, but it's better than not doing it at all. And then when you do travel, think about how you travel more sustainably. Take fewer flights. Maybe it's when you do fly, can you take an alternative transport? Even driving around cities, like how do you car share, get other people involved? You name it. So think about your travel footprint.
Amazing. I'll let you skedaddle and pitch. Thank you so much for your time. That's been amazing.
Thank you so much. You take care. And thank you for watching, everybody.
Bye, Mark. Okay, well, thank you so much, guys, for listening. That was phenomenal. Incredibly inspirational. And hopefully you all learned a lot. I know I definitely did. About just the importance of getting out there. I think he's one of the people I've spoken to who's shown from like a really early age the importance of just getting out there, saying yes, meeting people, and just learning to fail at a young age just seems like it's been immeasurably important for him. So I really hope you enjoyed that conversation. I did. And we will be back here next Wednesday at 12:30 to speak to our next guest, who is Louise Parsons-Ventata, the co-founder of Blue Methane. She came through the Carbon 13 Venture Builder to found her organisation. So I'm sure she'll have some really interesting stories to tell us about what that experience was like. Thank you for watching and see you next week. Bye.